Welcome to the Real Estate Equation Podcast, giving you the tools you need for your real estate and small business needs. And here are your hosts, Greg Summer and Ian May.
All right, well, it's 9 o'clock. Let's get this puppy started.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for showing up. We appreciate it. Thank you to Jennifer and Kelly for coming by and just giving us a little bit of insight of what it's like to be a mom in the real estate industry. I'm sure that the information that they'll give us will be really interesting and helpful. This is brought to you by the Real Estate Equation, which is a little project that Ian and I have started up together, where we give you guys the tools to solve your problems. So we have a podcast that's going to be going with this as well. This meeting will be posted as well as its own individual podcast, and it's going to be posted to YouTube just in case anything needs to get rewatched or if you just miss any of the details. So with that being said, go ahead and hand it over to Ian to begin. Ian?
Hello, my name is Ian. I am president of I Am Home Inspections. We do inspections that matter for people who care. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Today's topic is being a mom in real estate, and we're here with two top agents who are also moms. And a little background, I first met Kelly well before she was a real estate agent and I was in this business. My wife used to run a mom's group for kids who were too young to be in school so that our kids could socialize, before school age. And Kelly joined that mom's group. So I've known Kelly since our kids were toddlers, and they're now in junior high, almost high school at this point. So Kelly and I go way, way back, and then we kind of lost touch when our kids first started school, and then we ran into each other at a real estate event. I was like, "What, you're a real estate agent?" "Well, I'm a home inspector," and we've been working together ever since. So I've known Kelly for, it's 12 years now.
Wow.
Then when my kids started school, my oldest son started school, that's when I met Jenson, because our kids were in the same kindergarten class, and they became fast friends. And basically in kindergarten through 5th grade, our kids were really best friends. So we had sleepovers and parties at other people's houses. So I knew Jennifer, and when I met her standing outside the schoolyard trying to pick up our kids from school, she was discussing what she was going to do next now that her kids were in school, and she ultimately chose to become a real estate agent. So again, I've known Jennifer for 7, 8 years now.
13 months, at least 8 years. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is Kelly, Jennifer, and my oldest son are all basically the same age. And so we've all watched our kids go from, toddlers to where they are now together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I chose these two to start us off. So we'll start with you, Kelly.
Okay.
What drew you to become a real estate agent specifically?
So a couple of reasons. I worked in the nonprofit world as a director of operations for a long time, and I saw a cap to my income with that job, even though I made a good living for a single mom, and I always wanted to give back. And my sister-in-law, who's she's a number one agent in her neighborhood, had always said to me, "Look, property, you love architecture and you love people and you love solving problems. Like, you should really do this." And I had thought, I don't know, it's kind of scary, the sales based, 100% commission. And, I watched her career, and I actually ended up coaching her with, because I was the director of operations and a manager before, I coached her with the operations perspective, the system perspective, and, marketing and team building. And as she grew, I thought, what the heck, give it a go. So I took the exam and put myself out there, and I have not regretted it. I mean, she's an inspiration to me. She's definitely my motivation. She did 130 million last year, and she's, a rock star. And she was my best friend before she ever met my brother. So to have a really successful agent in the business, I mean, that's all you do is talk shop. So I talked real estate for a decade before I got in the business. So, I feel that it was the right place to be. And the funny thing is, she knew before me. she knew that this was my place to land. And my mentors all say it's the perfect industry for me. So people, problem solving, property. So it really works for me. So that's the reason I got into the business.
What about you, Jennifer? What as a mom drew you to real estate?
It's interesting, Kelly. We actually have a similar background. I ran a nonprofit for 11 years in Venice Beach for homeless pregnant women.
No.
And so it's interesting. Here we are as moms, kind of drawn. I think it's about helping people. And I think the thing about real estate is we went from the nonprofit industry, we were helping people, and real estate is also about helping people.
Exactly.
And it's always been very fulfilling for me, I feel like, to help people. And yeah, solving problems. If you don't like solving problems, you're right. It's not the job for you, because I feel like that's what I do with my family, my kids, real estate all day long. All I do is solve problems. By the time I go to bed tonight, I'm thinking, I don't want to solve one more problem today. Tomorrow is a new day. But a couple of things drew me to real estate. First of all, my mom is a real estate agent and has been for over 30 years, very successful. And I think that had kind of some pros and cons for me, as knowing someone and growing up with someone who's an agent in the house. She was always late to pick me up from school. She was always running around. She'd forget this because she was just really super busy. And so I'm thinking, I kind of knew what the lifestyle was in that sense as a kid. So I'd already experienced it. But there's so many great things about being a real estate agent. I think the first thing that came to mind for me was really just what I would consider the flexibility. Now, it doesn't mean that you always have flexibility. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. But there is this thing where, like, if I need to go to my kid's game, I can go to my kid's game. I just couldn't envision myself sitting behind a desk 9 to 5 every day. I just couldn't think of anything that was more of a drudgery than just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And real estate, yeah, there's some elements that you do over and over and over again, but there's so much variation because people are so different. Mm-hmm. Property is so different. The problems are different. So I'm energized by solving new problems, meeting new people. It's kind of like an adrenaline junkie a little bit. Like, I don't know that people would view me as that, but I really do get kind of a high off of doing real estate, like winning the deal, closing the deal. So I think the flexibility was one of the reasons. And also, for real estate, if you have a sphere, like, you can do it. Mm-hmm. If you know people, you can do real estate. So I feel like I knew a lot of people, and I'm like, okay, I think I can do it. And I also felt like, building wealth, like seeing people make decisions that could lead them to retirement was also exciting for me, because I'm always thinking long-term, okay, how can I retire later? Oh, property is a great way to build wealth. And so I just always found what property and real estate can do for you exciting. So I don't know, I think it's kind of a cool career. And it's interesting. I did all this education and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just a real estate agent, but I love it. Absolutely love it.
Awesome. So another reason why we started with Jennifer and Kellie is they come from two different sides of being mom, although interesting that you share a similar background. Kellie, I know you're a single mom, raising the only child as my mom was, and Jennifer's got more of the typical 4-person family. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get some very different answers on this next question. So we know as an agent, it can take months, sometimes even up to a year before you close that first deal and get that first commission check. So how did you get through that first few months, year, waiting to get that big check, knowing that you've got to support your family?
Well, I think for me, I didn't have like the 9-to-5 job before. I've always earned, even when I was married for 16 years, I've always earned close to or just what my ex-husband made. So I've always been a breadwinner. So for me, it wasn't anything unusual. It wasn't something I was scared to step into. I'm pretty fearless in the sense of I know what I want. I know how to get it, and I have I'm very fortunate to have a really great skill set and the ability and the tenacity to just go do it. So like Jen said earlier, you have this fear. Well, I didn't grow up here. I'm from Ireland, so I came here in my 20s. I lived in Santa Barbara for a decade, so I was new to the Valley. So for me, it didn't really matter what was available. It just mattered what I wanted to do to get what I wanted, and what I want to be is successful. And I really, like Jen touched on this, it's like it's taking care of people. And for me, I took my skill set, and I was lucky enough because I've earned enough in my life, and I set myself up to have a savings account to be able to do that. So I was very calculated in the risk I took. It wasn't something where I woke up one morning and thought, I'm going to go be a real estate today. You know, I'm going to go be a realtor. It wasn't like that for me. It was years of preparation, because I knew I wanted to transition into this business. So, and, you know, I talked to my family, you know, and I contemplated, should I move to Alameda to be with my brother and sister-in-law and be part of her team? Or should I start down in Los Angeles on my own? So I think for me, like I said, I was very strategic in how I made that decision and my approach to it. No, there was a plan of action. And, you know, I take my role as a mother really seriously. I'm sort of a geek when it comes to being a mom, and everything had to work for my family. So, you know, I didn't go into this foolishly. I went into this with my eyes open, and I'm extremely fortunate to be busy and to be even though I'm relatively new in comparison to a lot of agents, you know, I do enough business to be able to live. And, you know, I have aspirations to do more, and every year I am making more. So for me, I don't feel like it was too much of an issue, if that makes sense, because of planning.
I don't think you're a new agent anymore. I think you've been around the block enough times.
Well, you know, it's funny when you look at people, when I do deals and I'm across the table from someone and they think they've been in the business for 30 years, because of my training and my background, I'm not like a rookie agent, but in reality, people want to tell me I am when they find out the years. But when you look at my skill set and my business, I'm not a rookie agent at all. So, but it's interesting, you know, perception, you know. So
Yep.
for me, I like I said, I don't feel like it. I don't act like it. I do enough business to where I'm not. But you know, I'm extremely fortunate and very grateful for the path I've had thus far. So, and I can understand why it might be daunting to new moms who want to get into this business. And if there's anybody out there who wants to get into the business, feel free to call me. I'd love to talk to you about that.
All right, Jennifer, we're going to go to you. Now, your situation was a little different, but I also remember those schoolyard conversations when you were trying to figure out, well, now that my kid's in school, what do I do next?
Yeah, for me, I feel like it was kind of a process to decide because, like I said, my mom was in real estate, but she's not in California. So it's not like I could use any of her synergy, or it's a very different market. But yeah, I looked at like insurance, and I looked at, I interviewed a whole bunch of agents to say, hey, how is it out here? Do you think I can make it? There's so many of us. Like, am I going to be successful? What does it take? And so I did all this, kind of like you say, Kelly, like planning in a way. Like, I'm like, okay, is this for me? And I remember I probably looked at it once, and I interviewed one agent who totally turned me off to it. I didn't feel like I could be successful. There was too many people. The market was saturated. And then, but I still, like, after I looked at insurance, I'm like, it's not for me. And I went back and I'm like, you know, I still love real estate. And so I interviewed a few other agents. And after talking to one guy, he said, you know, if you know 100 people, you can be successful in real estate. And I felt like he just gave me the permission to do it. But it's interesting. Like, I interviewed one person, I just got totally put off on a different path after that. So it kind of depends on who you talk to, what road you go down, and what their perspective is. And so I guess one thing I learned from that is just asking advice from the people who are already on the path of where you're going. Like, they're going to do it similarly to the way that you do it. So you're right, Ian, we had a lot of conversations about kind of what's next. And I really wanted to enjoy my job. I just didn't want to just have employment. But you do kind of face that of, you know, like, it could be a little while till you get paid. Even if you're well networked, even if you know people, deals, you just don't get one a month. You know, sometimes you've got 7 in 1 month and you've got nothing the next month. And so there is kind of this up and down as far as how you do get paid. And even though I am married for 21 years and I've got 2 kids, I think I sold my first house in 2016 in February. And my husband lost his job in September of that same year. And I've literally been in real estate, like, checking my watch, like, okay, 6 months. It's all on me. And honestly, my husband still hasn't been fully employed since September 2016. So even though I'm married, and so I might have more assistance with my 2 kids, I'm the breadwinner. And so there is that drive, though, that I want to provide for my family and I want to be successful. And I guess I don't live in fear. Like, I guess you could kind of just worry every day, like, oh, when's my next deal? Where's my next deal? I just choose not to look at it from that angle, I guess. It'll come. Honestly, if you're doing what you need to do and you're talking to people and you love what you do, it shows and you attract people to you. And I think that that's one of the keys to success. And then I think too, just managing money well. Like, even though my husband lost his job, we had saved money during that time period. Like, we're really conservative with money. And you've got to know how to manage money to be in real estate. So, because you do have to tide yourself over, especially maybe as a newer agent, you have to tide yourself over in maybe a month or 2 or 3 where you don't have that income that you wished you had. But as you get the ball rolling, Kelly, like you're saying, like, I feel like once I did my first deal, just work came to me like over and over and over again. And yeah, probably because of what, you and I are both doing, but it just kind of got the ball rolling and it started. But there is that, you just can't live in fear. And then I think the other thing is too, after I did my first deal, I took part of those proceeds, even though I wanted to just pocket them all, I took part of those proceeds and I invested in my business. What do I need to do to get more business? And I took a portion of that and I put it right back into my business. And I think that really catapulted my first year in particular, was just reinvesting in the business.
And can I dovetail onto that? Because I think people forget that we run a business. I think they think we're salespeople, and we are actually independent contractors. So we run our own business. So as businesswomen, it's not just going out and selling houses. There's a lot of back end things that are going on. And I think because maybe with your mom and my sister-in-law, we knew what it took. And I think that's a game changer, to really understand the business and understand what you have to do, because you have to be a machine. It's not just going out there. You see these shows, clicking their high heels and their hair all pretty and all this stuff. It is not, and I've seen you crawl under so many buildings. It is, let's be clear, it's not pretty. But I think that it's really having a really great comprehension of how to run that business and how to keep that machine going no matter what. And you touched on a really good thing, Jennifer. A lot of people get into fear and they're like almost paralyzed, and it's this, how do I do this? And you just switch that out, and you talked about, we're going to talk about books and mentors and stuff later, but replacing fear with getting into action. And I think that's really, you touched on something that's really important in our business, is you just got to keep doing the next thing, and you can't stop. I feel like you're always in motion. So I just love what Jennifer said.
Great. All right. So the next question is a little more general, but we in our pre-interview discussion, Kelly mentioned she had run these questions by her son. Oh. So the next question is, what is the biggest challenge of trying to balance life as a mom and a real estate agent?
So for me, it really is that, like Jennifer was talking about earlier, sometimes there's problems and you're trying to, you really are a problem solver, and sometimes I'll be cooking dinner and, think I got a call and there's a crisis and I'm at my computer and my kid needs help with homework. So it really is like you're that acrobat that's got this plate going and this plate and this, your feet are taking. So you really are a juggler of sorts. And sometimes, your kid might get the short end of the stick. And I gotta back this up a little and let you know that I was very thoughtful about when I entered this business. So I waited until my son was old enough where I could push back a little and say, I'm going to help you, but I'm going to help you in 30 minutes. Or I'm going to do that for you, but I'm going to do it in 1 hour. Or you know what, maybe you could handle it yourself for right now. So I'm very proactive, and I like to set myself up and our relationship up and his life up for success. So I do a lot of planning in that sense, does that make sense? And I think too, with my son, there's times where, like, for instance, I promised him on a Saturday he could game. And Saturday morning came and I got a call. My client wanted to see houses in Santa Barbara, and she's a $2 million client. So I was like, No problem. So I went to my son and I said, look, I have this call. You know how important this deal is to me. So you have a choice. We can either say no and not go, or you just don't play today, you play tomorrow. And I have a very logical, rational kid. So he was like, can I get, and he's a negotiator because I'm a negotiator. And he said, if I can get 2 more hours of game time, it's okay. And I said, you know what? We make deals. My son and I make deals. And he got 2 more hours the next day and he was a happy camper. So he's really good and he's really flexible and he's come with me to things. So I take him to showings. I take him to open houses when we did open houses. No open houses right now because of COVID. But, you know, he's a real good kid. I'm very, very lucky. And sometimes he's actually really interested. I remember this one time being at an open house and I forgot to showcase the nest that was there. And he came up as I'd finished talking to these clients and he said, Mom, you forgot to tell them about the nest system. Do they know about that? And he went on to tell them about the nest system. So, you know, I'm very fortunate and he's a great kid, and where he can come with me, he does. And where he can't, he negotiates. So in my family, it works well. And, you know, ultimately I put him first. If there's an issue or a crisis, he is my number one priority. And if my clients don't understand that, I don't want them as clients, you know, because I treat clients like family. So you either get the best of me or you don't get anything. So I'm fortunate enough to have clients that respect that and respect that I'm a mom, and they actually enjoy the fact that I'm a mom. So it hasn't been a problem thus far. A challenge sometimes, 100%, you know, sometimes, but like you said, Jennifer said earlier, you know, we do have that flexibility. I make my schedule, so I don't give up my control. Do you know what I mean? I decide what happens. So I don't know if that answered the question properly, but that's what we do in our house.
Actually, I remember you brought him along to one home inspection, and he was beyond interested in the whole process and everything I was doing. And so he may have
He loved it.
he's going to have a future doing something in real estate.
Your next recruit, Ian.
Yeah, I'm training him young. As soon as he turns 18, I'll offer him a job. All right, Jennifer. What is the challenge of balancing life as a mom and a real estate agent?
I agree with a lot of what Kellie has said. And it's so funny that your son is like that, Kellie, because my son, Marshall, we call him Priceline Negotiator. And we just break out the song like Priceline Negotiator. He doesn't leave any deal on the table without negotiating something for himself. Because there are those times with the client calls, you've got plans, and kind of like you have to balance like, okay, do I break my plans with my child? Can it wait? Or is it something like real estate is so time sensitive, especially the market has been so on fire. And I feel like I've been saying that, I don't know, for years, but I feel like every time I say it, it's more true than it ever was before. Like even during this whole COVID thing, it's just been unbelievable. Like 20 showings in one day, first day out. And, you know, so it takes a lot to compete, and it really does take speed to compete. And our clients know that. So we do have to kind of balance how important is the engagement versus how important is the, you know, the appointment we have with our own child. And I remember one day my daughter had we were going to SeaWorld. And so she had, like, it was her birthday. We're going to SeaWorld. She had a special time in which she got to pet the dolphins or something. Like we'd already prepaid for everything. We're going to San Diego, but I knew like that day I had to show somebody a house. And that's one of the reasons sometimes I have partners in the business too. And Kellie, you probably know someone you can call on. Yeah. Sometimes I have to call on another partner agent, say, hey, I have a commitment. I cannot be there. Can you show it to them? So in those situations where I really can't break my promise because it's either just not feasible, like I will have someone else stand in for me at times. But I'm thinking that trip to SeaWorld probably cost me $6,000 or $7,000. I hope you love that dolphin. But sometimes, I mean, my kids are a little bit older too. They don't always understand. So sometimes I do get some kickback of like, Mom, you're always late. Mom, you're always busy. Mom, so, I do have to, like you say, prioritize. There are times in which I have to tell my client, And I've gotten good about how I tell my client. Like I figured out later, probably not my first year, but later, like I don't have to tell them everything that I'm doing. Like, oh, hey, I can't meet you at 2:00 because I have a football game. All I say is like, I already have an appointment scheduled at 2:00, but I could see you at 4:00 or I could see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Like which of those work for you? Because, it values my time that I do have commitments that I can't always move around. And again, it kind of, as an agent too, it shows that you do have a life, you are busy. People do respect that. I think you're right. Like clients, we need clients that respect that we also have a life too. And, again, it is kind of like you say, the plates in the air, like you're with your fingers. There's just so much stuff to juggle, just even scheduling the family and grocery shopping, all that types of stuff. So it is a lot of juggling. I think that's the greatest analogy.
Nice. Problem is, you're already answering some of the questions I have for later on, but
Uh-oh. Well, don't worry. We've got lots to say, don't we?
Oh yeah.
all right. So let's flip this on a little bit. Let's go the other direction. What do you think is the biggest benefit as a real estate agent coming from the perspective of being a mother?
I love this question. And I'll tell you why I love this question. Because people think as a mother, they have, a lot of people might think, oh, well, they're a mother, they're busy, or they're, they don't have the time or whatever. But, when I look at every single deal I've had, and Ian, I've had some complicated deals. I see my role as a mother, is to care for, to nurture, to feed, to clothe, to hug, to love, to be there for I'm my kid's cam in every storm, right? I am there for my son no matter what. And his best days, his good days, when he's being irate and unreasonable and, pre-puberty and all that good stuff that you get with it and the crazy, I am equipped to deal with whatever comes my way. So there's nothing that's going to offend me. There's nothing that's going to upset me. And there's nothing that's going to make me stop. And I take time to get to know my clients. And what I do is I'm like a mom to them, if I can say that without being condescending. And I don't mean it in any condescending way, but I take all my skill set as a mother and I give that to my client. So like Jen was saying earlier, Jennifer, about the scheduling, you give me a guy who can schedule like a mom, no disrespect to the opposite, but you give me a guy who can schedule like a mom and with all hell breaking loose, keep everything together. We are technically the glue that keeps a lot of our families together. So in a deal, it's transferable. So in a deal, I'm the glue that keeps it together. So for me, you look at your clients, they're either selling their house, and sometimes it's a divorce. Sometimes it's a breakup. Sometimes somebody died. Sometimes it's because somebody got a new job and they're celebrating, or, they're empty nesters. There's all these things that impact why people do what they do in our business. And as a mom, I'm able to be sensitive to that. I'm able to really embrace whatever it is they're going through. And we wear many hats. We're not only jugglers, but we wear many hats. And for me, when I look at it, sometimes I feel like a therapist. I sat down with a client and one of them started crying, and I'm just like, I stopped what I'm doing. I'm like, what's going on? How can I be of service to you? So, I come from the nonprofit world. So being of service to me is very important. Let's say, for example, I've been in deals where somebody's trying to screw over my client, and I will be a pit bull to protect my clients. So I can be anything from the pit bull to protect my clients to the juggler to make you laugh, or I can be the one that's, soothing and centered and calm and peaceful in there at the end of the night when you're exhausted, when you're at a home inspection that scared the living, what out of you. And I'm there for my client and I walk them through this. So as a mom, who better to do that than someone? That's what we do. And that's the thing about being a mom I love being there for my son. I love being that pillar. And I just see as I'm that pillar for my clients. And, I work with anyone from first-time home buyers to multi-million-dollar luxury home buyers and investors. And I did a commercial deal and the hand holding I had to do with our clients and the laugh was incredible. You know, and these are guys who deal with wheel and deal and selling 10s and 5s and $20 million every month, you know, and they needed a lot of support and a lot of guidance. And I was there for them, you know, and I'm dealing with a client right now who's very sophisticated, very successful, but it's very stressful. So being a mom is the biggest benefit to me, because I have this mindset of, I come from a place of help. I come from a place of wanting to be of service. And I come from a place of, doesn't matter how tired I am or how long the day is, and Jennifer, you can attest to this, I'm there. And I'm a phone call or a text away. So I kind of parent my clients, and most of them like it. You know, most of them feel safe, they feel protected, and they know they have somebody in their corner that really cares deeply. So I think moms are warriors. You know, it's like, you want a protector? Check. You need a pit bull? Check. You need a therapist? Check. I'm here. So, you know, and I'm very adaptable. And, you know, it's like, let's say I need to have a frank discussion. You know, I'm not scared to do that, because I have to bring up another human being, and that can be scary at times. So my parenting has been like a trial for real estate, to be real honest with you. I see Jennifer laughing. She gets it, you know? So, no, I think it makes me a better agent, because I really deeply care for my clients. So.
Nice. Yes, and there's a reason. You're right. Moms are much better at scheduling, because my schedule for moms. I don't do my own schedule anymore. Jennifer.
Oh gosh, that was really well said, Kelly. I mean, I think that I'm going to add a little bit to that, but really, I think you nailed it on the head. I think that all of the things that you need in parenting, you use in real estate. And, you know, I was thinking about the questions like in advance, and I just think, what is the benefit? You know what? We get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care whether it's as a mom or as an agent, we get it done. And you're right. No matter how tired we are, Kelly, no matter how late it is, you know, at the end of the day, like, we've got some good stamina to just kind of just continue on, even though we're tired. I mean, what is it like, you know, having a baby? It's like, we're up all night. We are kind of just wired. We are trained. It is like the training ground. It's like the boot camp, like motherhood is the boot camp to becoming a real estate agent, I think, in its own way. And I think too, like, the saying is true, is that if you want something done, ask a busy person, right? Like, you don't want to ask the person just sitting around, you know, like, busy people get stuff done. And you're a mom, you're an agent, you're a busy person. If you want it done, you ask somebody who's busy, because they will get it done. And I think too, kind of piggybacking off of you, Kelly, like, you know, like, we have kids, and we have kids, they go to school. We have kids who have friends. Like, at many times we have to be their advocate, right? We have to fight for them. We have to protect them. We have to do all those things that are in our kids' best interest. And I mean, the skill set is literally just from here, move it over here to your client in real estate. It's the same skill set. We are their advocate. We are their protector. We are there we're kind of responsible for them, right? Protecting them and guiding them and advising them. And it is so much like parenting. And then I think too, Kelly, like you said, I do feel like at times, you know, we're a therapist. I think I posted something on my Instagram about, like, kind of wish I got paid hourly like a therapist did sometimes, because, you know, we are that, I think, many, many hours for people. And I think because we do have kids, we do know how to deal with emotions. And real estate is a highly emotional business. And as someone who just bought my second home, I hadn't been a buyer in almost 20 years myself personally, because I've had my home, you know, for 20 years. And I just kind of got a reality check about how emotional it is. Like, you want something and you have to compete to get something, and thinking about the disappointment of not getting it, like doing whatever it took to get it. And I think that, you know, we use that. We have to know how to deal with those emotions, because at times our clients do get disappointed. You know, if there are 10 offers on the table, you know, it's not always about the most money, or it's not always in our power to win. We might pull out all the stops and do everything we can. And it's a long list of what we do to win. but there are times in which we don't win, and dealing with that disappointment, it can be devastating. So just being there, I think, to calm people down, to be there when they're disappointed, to set expectations, like what it's going to take. All those are things that we have to use when we're raising our kids. And I think I see a lot of moms in real estate. And I think one of the reasons why the moms are so successful is because these skills, we've already learned them and we're just applying them in a new field. So I couldn't agree more, Kelly. I think it's well said.
Thank you. You too.
Yep. Thank you.
Wow. All right. We kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm gonna put you on the spot because I like people put on with the situation.
Okay.
So
let's go.
Get your hair up, Kelly.
So
it's Saturday. You promised your kid you were going to spend all afternoon with him. You've been promising for days you're going to spend all Saturday afternoon with him. It's noon. The phone rings, and it's your very important client that you've been working for months who says they just found the perfect house. They need you to come write the offer right now. How do you the situation?
So I think there's a couple of answers to this question. So like I said before, I'm a bit of a planner and I like to manage, Jennifer talks about expectations, because with our clients, sometimes my clients think that they're my only clients. So not only is it, we don't just have one client. So it could be 3 clients calling you the same day saying something to that effect. So what I like to do is with I call you have clients that are hot, medium, or cold, hot, warm, cold. So with my hot clients, let's say I have something planned that's really important to me. I will call them up and say, okay, what's going on? This is my timeline. I will be unavailable on this day from this time to this time. What have you got going on? What do you need done beforehand? What houses do we need to see? Where do we need to go? What do we need to write? Where are we at in this? Whether it's an escrow, because I have 3 escrows and 1 listing right now, or 1 listing coming up. So, it's not just what's going on, but it's, the plethora of work we have in our world. So when I look at this, I set myself up for success. I have very little family in California. So when I get time with my family, I try to protect it as much as possible. So I try to work ahead. And if I can't work ahead, the other thing too is it's very rare that a client would call me and say, let's make an offer, because I don't make offers in houses I haven't seen. And I don't do that for a reason. I can't properly represent my client if I don't know what they're trying to buy. So I have safety nets in place for things like that. But let's say I was in a situation where I was in Santa Barbara. I'd promised my son we'd go to the beach. I was looking at houses for 1 client, and I get a call from another client that she changed her mind on a property we'd seen, and she wanted to submit in the offer, and I had 2 hours to submit the offer. So with kids, like Jen said earlier, and I said, they love to negotiate. So it's conversation. It's, hey, honey, I got to pull over, work in a coffee shop, and I got to write this offer, and I got to get it out. And, my kid, the light bulb goes off of like, okay, what can I get? So, and we just roll with it, and, it's hard in my business because sometimes people, and I see people that are very successful because I'm around them a lot, where they bribe their kids with stuff and money. I try to make it about experiences. So I said, look, once I write this offer, there's the beach down the road. You and me in the water, boogie boarding. What do you think? And he'll go, well, I'd rather play video games. And I'll say, well, I'd rather be in the water with you. So what do you say? So I spend the 2 hours, I write the offer, and then I put down my phone and I get in the ocean where my kid is my undivided attention, and I hang out and I play with him and we have lots of fun. So it's give and take. It's always a negotiation. And you know what I like about it, though, I got to tell you, is that my son's negotiation skills get better and better and better. And like Jennifer talked about earlier, advocating for yourself. My son is learning a skill set that he would not learn had he not got a realtor as a mother. So for me, it's about, yes, they come first, but I'm also a breadwinner. And sometimes I have to make that decision, but I don't make it lightly. I don't make it flippantly. And when I do, it's because there's a deal to be made, but my son will get a return and he will get that time, whether it was with his friends or with me. I will make sure that everything is what I call made right or whole. So, and that's a balance. And sometimes you feel bad. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I feel like I'd rather just do that. But the reality is that I run a business, and my business is 7 days a week. So, and my son, we have a lot of dialogue. I'm sure you have this too, where it's, Jennifer, where you talk with your kids, you talk with your family, you talk with the people you love about what you can and can't do, and what you're able to do, because we are only human. And as much as I think I'm Superwoman most of the time, there's only so much I can do in a day. So, and again, my kid's a good person, and I have a good support system, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So, normally I'd write the offer, and that's what my son said last night. He looked at me and he was like, "You should write the offer." And the reality is that as I'd write the offer, because I have a duty to do that. So, and like Jennifer said earlier too, which I think is really important, is, people don't understand our business. When it's hot, it's hot. And when it's not, it's not. So I can take, a week or 2 off, or even a month off, so I make up for it. And I see Jennifer nodding her head, because that's true. We make up for it. So where I'm busy, but when I'm not, he's sick of looking at me and wants me to go back to work. So, it really is give and take, so anyway, I've got a great negotiator to this, and I like that he has that skill set. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, very, very, very much so. Jennifer, I know you're nodding your head.
I mean, what can I say? I just agree with really everything Kellie's saying, because I think, going back to one of your earlier points, it kind of depends on what the situation is and who the client is, and how much time is of the essence. Because like we said, we've got plates in the air, and there are times that I would just have to say, you know what? Hey, I've got 30 minutes. Let's play that board game right now, or let's, get in the water if, we're at the beach too. And then I'll go to my car and I'll be like, getting my laptop out. I mean, pretty much my laptop is wherever I am. And then I've got a hotspot on my phone. And so you are kind of on call 24/7. But, we all have clients in different phases. We've kind of maybe got the looky-loos. We've got the people who've been shopping for months and have been beat out on things. So not every client is equal, honestly, as to where they are in the process. And so it really is highly dependent on that. But I think that we are master prioritizers, and we know what it takes. Like, if there's an offer to be written, you really can't delay it. It would never be in the client's best interest, or anyone's best interest, to delay it. But there are times where sometimes I'll call the listing agent and say, hey, I want to write an offer. Are you reviewing offers right now as they come in? Or are you reviewing offers in 2 days from now? So sometimes we do have a window in which we can tell the client, like, hey, I'm glad to write that offer for you. We have until Sunday night at 6 o'clock to submit it. It's Friday right now. What about tonight at 8 o'clock? Could we sit down then? So sometimes people don't always need it right then and there. And you just have to ask them, hey, here's when our deadline is. Do you have time now? And then you kind of make it at a time where it's convenient, and you don't have to break your plans. And I would say that's more than 50% of the time I can do that, even if it's just a delay of an hour or 2. Or at times, Kellie, you've probably done this too, where I've written an offer for them before, and I quickly type it up and I send it to them. Sometimes it's going to take them a little while to get signatures, or to write the buyer letter, or, things like that, I can get it off to them. So I've done my part, and now I'm waiting on them. And then I hop in the ocean. And then 3 hours later, I come back, I put everything together. I reach out to the listing agent, there is kind of some leeway, I think, when it comes to that. But I think dialogue with our kids to show them that they are important, even if we can't, be with them right then and now. I think, there's just a lot of dialogue that has to happen, so that they feel loved and feel like they are the priority, even though, as the breadwinner, I do have to work. So I think that's been, honestly, the hardest transition. I had taken a few years off not working when I left the nonprofit. And I think that transition of going from always available, for like those 2 years that I was, to like, oh, now mommy's working. I still feel like 5 years later, my kids sometimes have, oh, Mom. I'm like, okay, I'm working. It's been a long transition, that because I'm not working at a desk 9 to 5 away from them, you're at home working. They sometimes don't always remember that, oh, I'm working even though I'm at home. So I think that transition took a lot of dialogue, and it still takes dialogue to this day, years into it that no, I'm still working. Even though I can be with you, I'm still working. So I don't know if that adds much to what Kellie said, because I think you did hit it right on, what to do.
And I think too, just to join on to that, one of the things, hugging is a big thing. We're a very huggy family. And the beautiful thing about being a realtor and being a mom is I can be negotiating a deal and hugging my kid and giving him that sensory, reinforcement of I'm physically here. So sometimes I offset it by just the hugs, he'll come over and he'll hug, and we'll have a really lovely hug and, a little moment, but I'm on the phone doing a deal, so that's really important too, is, the fact that sometimes we're physically, but not mentally present. So I have to make sure that there's a balance of both. But the thing about us is I can be in a park working. I could, like you said, I can be on a beach. I can be in a parking lot, so I don't physically have to be in an office. So that, I think, gives our kids that security of my mom's here, and there's something to be said for that,
Agreed.
Right. So do you have any other methods that you use to balance your life as mom and real estate agent?
I think having a good support system, for me is, I am a single mother and I have a great father. My son's father's amazing. I think having a good support system, and especially now with social distancing and being home and COVID, so for me, it's about having people that he can, let's say I have a really busy day and it's just not, it's not a day I can take my kid with me, making sure he's in a place where he's having fun, so I offset my busy with him being able to have fun adventures. I think too, having a home office is really important, respecting boundaries of times that you have with your kid and making sure that they have enough time with you and making sure that you have enough time with yourself. I mean, I asked my kid, what do you think it is I do to balance? He said, you take naps. And for me, it's like, I need good sleep. I need food, water. I'm like a caveman, I need to be able to sleep. I need my food. I need water. And, but there's also times whenever it's really exciting, when you close deals and, you're being successful and, you get to be able to do the things you want to do. Like I planned a trip home to Ireland, so I try to, as much as I do business, I try to also have wonderful personal moments with him. So don't get me wrong, sometimes it's a struggle, especially when you're busy, but to me those are quality first world problems, and I make sure that my kid has really rich friendships and that he has people in his world. It's not just me, so that whenever he needs something, if I'm not here physically, he has a grandma, aunts and uncles. I mean, it's a beautiful thing with FaceTime and Zoom. He FaceTimes my family all over the world. He'll be bored and he'll go, I'm going to call my cousins up north, or I'm going to call my aunt, or, so having a support system in place for your children, for me, is very important. Without that, to be real honest, I wouldn't feel as comfortable as I do, if that makes sense. And I think, just also, work the work, but also have rewards, have rewards. And my kid's part of that. It's very easy to start spoiling your kid, when you get a little bit of money or you get a lot of money in this business. So I try to keep him very grounded in that sense. Do you know what I mean, Jennifer? Because, and he celebrates my success. I think it's very important as a woman, and there's studies to show that women who work and women who are successful are really good role models for their kids. So I see myself as a role model. I don't see myself as someone who's lacking or not giving their kid what they need. I feel like my kid thinks I'm kick-ass. He thinks I'm a warrior, and I that makes my heart warm, and it makes me feel in those days where everything's going wrong, he's this ray of sunshine, so, I think being a mom and being an agent is a perfect combination. I don't know about Jennifer.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's true. It does impact, we obviously both have sons too. I think that as breadwinners, I think, you pass on the value of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, my son, he's been wanting to get a job since he was like 11. And he's like, Mom, can I get one with a work permit when I'm 14? Can I get one when I'm 15? I mean, like, he wants to work. Mm-hmm. And I like the role model thing. I think that really is, it's a good way to look at it, because it is a healthy thing. Like, that is part of what we do as, independent adults, is we work, we support ourselves. And our kids do need to see that. And I think things that, I guess, what was the question, Ian? Methods about balancing being a mom and a real estate agent?
What other methods do you use to balance being a mom and real estate agent that maybe we haven't discussed?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I do. I'm not from California originally either, and I have been there, a number of years, but I have a lot of really, like you're saying, a support system, like good friends, and they can't just go to grandma's, like, oh, walk down the street, go to grandma's. There isn't that, but we have a lot of friends where you're right. I'm having to work. They don't get to be with me. If they're having fun someplace else, I think having those key partnerships with people where maybe at times there's reciprocity there, like, their kids are coming over, but there's times when I go, hey, can you come and swim at your house for the next 3 hours? I have to show 3 houses. And so you send them over there and they're having a great time. In fact, they don't even miss you, honestly. They're just like, oh, you're here already? Oh, didn't even miss you. So that is a way kind of to offset when you do have to be someplace else and, they would like you to be with them. I think too, building in things that they look forward to. So we will definitely take trips where, I'm not always available. Like we've gone to Seattle, we've driven to Seattle. And I remember like, it's a 20-hour drive up there. We're going to be gone for a week. And like you say, Kelly, like I do try to do stuff in advance. So whatever I have going on in the hopper, it's like, okay, let's do these 10 things because I know I'm going to be gone for a week. But you can't always, predetermine what's going to need to be done. And I remember driving to Seattle with my kids and we're just having a good time driving up there. And I literally got 3 phone calls from clients on the day I left after I've already checked in with them. We need to see property, like 3 different people. And okay, so I had, my partner friends, they come in, they'll show the property. But I'm still on vacation in Seattle with my family. And we've been looking forward to it. And it's time set apart. We do have to have that time where we aren't available. And, sometimes people can wait. And honestly, sometimes people can't wait. Like I'll never say that 100% of the time that my schedule will always coincide with someone else's. I think 95% of the time I can make it happen. But sometimes there's those times where you're just like, I can't make it happen. So honestly, the power of sometimes a no or not right now. Sometimes I have had to say that because I have set aside that time, or sometimes I don't even have cell phone signal where I went. So it's not even like if I wanted to, I can't even pick up the phone. So sometimes just being gone, is the no or is the method, right? I put stuff on my calendar, right? Sometimes as agents, I think if you live in the fear mentality, like we talked about earlier, well, I can't plan that because what happens if I either don't have the money to do it then, or if I can't take the time off? And I think if you could just put the fear aside and you plan it, the thing that people always say about real estate is the moment you take or plan a vacation, business comes in like hotcakes. Oh, yeah. And every single time, like on that trip to Seattle, I'm like 3 people today. I just left, So I think that's one of the important methods is just the fear, put the fear aside and plan to do something fun, set aside that time with your family. And then I think other things like technology, like you said, Kelly, about Zoom and keeping in touch and things like that. We have like a family calendar, planning all of our stuff with all these plates and things like that. And that's something, when you're going to balance a busy schedule and work and family, like we all have to be kind of on the same page. There's a lot to coordinate. So that's one of the things that we will use a lot of, or we have some whiteboards or things like that at home too, just to communicate as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, Ian, but I think that all these techniques are helpful. And like we mentioned earlier about, have an appointment, sometimes I just have to tell clients I have an appointment, but I could meet you at 5 o'clock, So we learn as we go along in this business kind of what works, and people are all different too. What works with different clients, sometimes it's different. So.
All right. Well, we've had a great discussion here. We're getting close to the end of the hour. But for any moms that are out there listening, who are going to be listening to this in the future, who are thinking about, maybe I want to follow in your footsteps and become a real estate agent. Do you have any books, blogs, social media sites, or anything else that you recommend to the moms who are probably looking to become an agent?
So, I mean, my advice, I just got a call actually from a client. I sold him a $1.3 million house last year, and the girlfriend of the couple wants to become an agent, and I've been given, you know, a bunch of advice and support and advice, and, you know, I'm going to hop on the call and do some maybe training with her. For me, it's about, you know, you really sort of need to learn the lingo. I mean, I remember, even though I was in and around this world and I talked shop for a decade before I became an agent, there's a steep learning curve to learning the language of just how we communicate and the processes by which, you know, you go through a contract. So I think getting involved, and, you know, Tom Ferry is one of my go-tos, Inman, Real Deal, Keeping Current Matters. There's a guy called Steve Harvey who does Keeping Current Matters. But I think, you know, and Tom Ferry does a really good YouTube channel, whether you drink that Kool-Aid or not. He does a really good, he does a good channel where he interviews very successful agents. YouTube is such a useful tool, you know, in the sense of going in there and learning as much as you can. You know, as far as, I also listen to two entrepreneurs that I love, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk and then Tom Bilyeu. They're amazing because they're all about positivity and staying in the moment. And, you know, whenever I first got into this business, my first year was very fearful. And it was because I was in the wrong place doing the wrong thing. And I don't even qualify my first year in the business as my first year, because I was in the wrong place. So if there is a mom out there that wants to get into this business, I like people to learn from my mistakes. Give me a call. I don't know if Ian can provide my phone number or whatever, but, you know, it's very important that you land in the right place when you come into this business and you get the right training. I mean, I was trained by an attorney for 2.5 years before I shifted brokerages. And in this business, knowledge is power. In this business, understanding contracts and how real estate law applies to those contracts and the domino effect, like Jennifer said earlier. Sorry, I keep calling you Jenny. My best friend's Jenny. Jennifer, sorry. Like Jennifer said earlier, it's like everything is different, you know, so you need to understand how all those dominoes are affected in each deal, because each deal, the dominoes are in a different place. No one deal is like any other deal. So there's complexities to our business that you need to understand thoroughly to be effective in your ability to advocate, represent, and support your clients. And like I said, I take that really seriously. So for me, if you're interested in getting into this business, educate yourself and pick a brokerage where you're going to get that really good training so you understand. Because I really didn't feel confident until I'd had extremely complex deals fall apart and, you know, gone through those. So you can watch and read and do whatever you want, but I don't think there's any other job like it in the world where you pass a test, but it's hands-on experience that'll really make or break you. And then I think too, I'm a big advocate of there's enough to go around. You know, I don't believe in being adversarial with fellow brokers. I say, go talk to agents you admire and respect. I mean, I remember talking to this guy at a Tom Ferry event, and I was like, I'm going to see you on TV one day. And sure enough, he's a newest cast member of New York $1 Million Listing. So I talk to people I admire, and I follow people I admire. I watch their business, and there's a lot of great women in real estate and great moms in real estate in LA. I mean, some of the top 10 agents in the nation or in California are moms. They're women. So we live in a great area to have women role models, because we're talking about moms today. But I follow them. I follow them on social media. I watch what business they're doing, you know, and I think there's enough to go around. And if there's anybody out there who's interested in going into this business, I'm more than happy to talk to you, because it can be daunting, but it's extremely rewarding, you know? So there you go.
Jennifer, anything you'd like to contribute to that?
Again, so well said, Kelly. I mean, there is a lot to know, I think, before you get into the business. And like Kelly, like as agents, we love to talk to people. We are friendly. We are here to share information with you. You could Google either one of us and call us and say, I'm interested. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And we'd be willing to make ourselves available for a conversation, because you need to have a lot of conversations. And like I mentioned earlier, I interviewed multiple agents at multiple times. Like I had agents put me off the path You know why, Kelly? Like you say, they had a scarcity mentality.
Mhm.
Like they didn't want more competition coming into the business. They weren't encouraging you. So you got to be careful who you talk to, because people, they will, if they're afraid of you or think you're going to be successful, they will just be like, yeah, don't do it. There's too many people, too much competition. They could really be a naysayer when it really is the direction you should be going. So that's why I think talking to a variety of people, successful people, I think also women in real estate, just to get an idea, like that perspective. So I think that really helps to talk to people. I think, I do a lot of online reading and book reading. There's so many books to be read, but I think if you start with the in-person experience, talking to agents who are actually working, you just get a more dynamic experience and more dynamic info, I think, from them. I started out with a mentor. Like I said, my mom was in the business 30 years, but in a different type of market. So I had a mentor for my first couple of deals, because what you learn in the real estate course versus what it's like in real life, I'm not sure they even intersect. I don't know who wrote that stuff.
I know.
And I had to go back and relearn it because it's so not helpful. So I had a mentor who helped me with my first few deals, and she'd been in the business 30 years. And that really, I think, set me on a good path to how it should be done. And then as I've done a number of deals, it's like, oh, I can definitely see how it shouldn't be done.
Mhm.
And then I've had a lot of agents where I'm like, wow, it just blew my socks off, like how amazing they were. And then I follow them, kind of like what you're saying, Kelly, like local agents. Like,
Mhm.
wow, I really had a great deal with her. Let me see what she does. And I've done a lot of not reinventing the wheel, but like, oh, that's how she takes care of her clients after the fact. Oh, she hosts a party annually. Oh, she does that. Like, I will go and I will glean that experience and information from people. But I think having a mentor, a cheerleader, someone who cheers you on if you decide to go in this direction is really critical. Additionally, after I was in a few years, I did work with a coach.
Mhm.
And I'm just one of those people, like, could I figure it out? Sure, I could figure it out, but it might take me a year and 5 iterations. I would rather talk to someone who's already mastered it, already doing more, doing better. What did you do? What do you think about this? The coaching experience has been great. I coach with Club Wealth and Michael Hellickson and his group, and I've really enjoyed, they have a Facebook page and they provide a lot of content. I've gone to a lot of conferences, kind of like what you're saying with Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry. I've gone to a few in Vegas, and just being out there, being educated. It's constant learning. There's no like being stagnant in this business because it's always changing. You're just going to be always learning. But I love being in that community, the learning community, growing, and there's no end to what information and experience you can have to help your clients better.
Mhm.
So I think following people is a good way to do it. As far as books, I've read so many, and they have so many different elements because there's a lot to running a business. Kind of like what you said, Kelly. It's not just about we're a salesperson. You can read a lot of books on sales, and
Mhm.
that's part of the business. But running a business, nurturing clients, retaining clients, repeat clients, managing your money, there's so much more than that, than just being a salesperson. I guess maybe if you sell a lot, you can maybe overcome any misfortune and mistakes you make. You've got the money to do so, but why make them? So I think that's a good way to go. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books that I read last year. Miracle Morning, we talked about earlier, kind of in the pre-show, which, is good and bad, because we were talking about how it's for morning people, and I'm a night owl, and I'm just like, so I took what I could. Again, you read these different books and you're like, okay, I can do these 5 things. These other things, okay, those are not for me. But you're gleaning information from each book that you would read and what works for you. Because what I've noticed, there's a lot of different types of real estate agents, right? There's a lot of different people, and there's different clients for different folks. And not everyone who would love me would love Kelly, and vice versa. And,
Mhm.
kind of like a therapist, some people hate this therapist, they love this therapist. There's, you attract different types of clients. And I remember I had a mentor assigned to me early on that was not like me. And I remember thinking, oh, I can't have this person as a mentor because they are going to scare off all of my clients. So I got a different mentor, there's, again, it's just, there's different folks for different types of real estate agents. So don't think that, well, I'm not as outgoing as Kelly, or I'm not as, a go-getter as this person. There are different all those elements just attract different people. There are clients for you to have. And you have to know yourself to know what you read, like what to implement, because you could implement a lot of things that make you hate this business.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I implemented some of those things from Miracle Morning, I'd be like, this really feels like work. And most of the time I look at real estate, I'm thinking, I can't believe I get paid to do this. I love my job so much. But sometimes I'd incorporate a few elements. And I'm like, I'm really hating my job right now. I don't like that. It's taking the joy out of what I love. And you just got to put it aside. So, so again, you kind of read, but you take it with a grain of salt and you incorporate, I think, what works for you. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I love that book because, I talk to my clients about that all the time, about, just different mentalities about real estate. Yeah, a lot of YouTube stuff, so much stuff on YouTube. And then I guess if anyone's thinking about maybe taking the real estate course, I think there's definitely some ways to do it to be successful and passing the test and things like that. So if you're really thinking about, yes, I've decided to go into real estate, but how do I get my license? What's the most straightforward way? You can waste some time. You might even fail the test. There are enough people that do, but, talk to Kellie or I, we can give you kind of some pointers on, how to make that as easy as possible, because that's really just the obstacle to becoming the agent. The learning starts after that on how you're really going to do real estate. So I don't know if that helps, but hopefully it does.
All right. Well, that's awesome. To wrap up and keep us legally compliant, actually, I'm going to have you give your contact information and hopefully you remember your license number off the top of your head.
Are you serious?
Kellie McCaffrey, you're with Compass Real Estate, DRE 02007978. And what's your contact information?
My contact information is 805-259-7465. And my email is Kellie@Kellie Homes. And I spell my name Kellie. So it's KELLIE@KELLIEHOMES.com.
Jennifer Jenson, you're with ReMax 1. Let's see, your license number is 01976593. And what's your contact information?
Excellent. Yes, Jennifer Jenson. And my number is 310-428-7704. And then my email is Jennifer. So the regular spelling, JENNIFER @Jenson Realty, which is JENSON. There's so many ENs, but it's JENSON Realty, REALTY.com. And would love to talk to you further if you have any other questions. I'm sure Kellie would too. So feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you. Greg.
Yes.
Wrap it up and tell us who we're sponsored by today.
Well, Jennifer, Kellie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories and just giving some really solid insight. It is much appreciated. All the viewers here, we appreciate you being here for our first event. Don't forget, this was recorded, so it's going to be going up on YouTube and everything. So if you need to rewatch it, you can. And Ian and I actually have been recording podcasts together, and we're going to be releasing one of our podcasts next week. So be sure to check that out. It'll be all over social media too. And Ian, do you have any other closing?
Yeah, just remember that this episode is sponsored by I Am Home Inspections. We do inspections that matter for people who care. 818-298-3405. IamHomeInspections.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.